What's up, everyone? I hope you're doing great tonight. This is Raphael Garcia here for episode 110 of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. I got it right on first try. Today is February 10th, 2022. And thank you for taking the time to check me out on this episode. And I always appreciate you doing so. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to wherever you find our content. And if you do not know where to find us, even though you're watching the show now, you can check us out at MMAratings.net and .com. You can look us up on Instagram and Twitter at MMARatingsNet in both spaces. You can hit us up also across all podcasting networks at MMA Ratings and on YouTube at MMA Ratings as well too. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel as we continue to grow there. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at rgarcia_sports. Schwan Humes, who is my partner in crime, we do the MMA Ratings podcast on Wednesday. Hit him up at Black Jordan Green on Twitter and Instagram. But as always, like I said, I thank you for taking the time to check us out tonight. On episode 110, we'll be talking a couple of different topics. We'll definitely be hitting up some of the AEW news from this past week. They had a big week this week, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the stuff from WWE. Nothing bad, actually, which is good. We're going to try to keep it a little more positive, but we'll definitely talk about bad things when they come up. And then just some other news bites as well, too. So, again, thank you for taking the time to check us out. And I always say us, like there's multiple people here. I mean, my co-host should probably be jumping up here in any second. But no, it's just me. So I thank you for checking me out on this podcast. But again, we've been doing content across MMA Ratings for the better part of 10 years now. I started writing for MMA Ratings back in 2010. We started a podcast maybe I think 5 years ago. So this one's been running, I think, for about 2 years. So again, thank you for checking us out and enjoying our content. Let's go ahead and talk about some professional wrestling. Starting off with AEW first and foremost. And they had, like I said, they had a huge week. They had two big debuts, a monster main event on Dynamite, and just some other things that I really want to talk about as well, too. So the first, obviously, the biggest story to me, I guess, in my opinion, is Keith Lee's debut on Wednesday at Dynamite. He was the surprise entrant against Isaiah Cassidy, and he is now part of the AEW, Face of the Revolution ladder match, which would be at AEW Revolution in March. I think on like March 12th or something like that, whatever that weekend is. So that's a big moment for me to see that. But man, Keith Lee's debut, what's that saying? It was the best. It was the worst kept secret because everybody had been talking about it in the days leading up to Dynamite this week, and ever since Tony Khan's announcement on Friday about a big signee. And even if you noticed, so Mia Yim and Keith Lee got married over the weekend, and Mia posted a honeymoon picture, I think on Monday or Tuesday. People were looking at that picture and they could pick apart reasons why it was an old image. And I'm just like, y'all are doing way too much. But obviously, it was a ruse because Keith Lee was at Dynamite on Wednesday, and he had what I believe is an exceptional debut. Isaiah was a perfect opponent for him to debut against because he's going to bounce and sell all over that ring like his life depends on it, and that's exactly what he did for whatever those 5 minutes were, and then they had some big spots at the end. The Matt Hardy leaving and then calling it erratic behavior, chef's kiss, because that was a great touch there. But focusing back on Keith Lee, he is someone who he checks all the boxes. And it's amazing that WWE missed so widely on him for just whatever reason it was that they missed on him. But AEW has an opportunity in front of them, and they have to run with the ball on this one. They cannot drop the ball on this, and not again. Like, not the same way they've done with Scorpio Sky, not the same way they've done with Powerhouse Hobbs, the way they were doing with Ricky Starks for a while. Lee Martin. Like they have so many guys on their roster who are exceptional black male performers, singles performers that they can elevate now. And if they choose not to with Keith Lee, that's going to be a pretty, I don't want to say nail in the coffin in this debate, but it's not going to bode well for them whenever this conversation comes up. I, for one, I'm not someone who believes that this should get immediately pushed into the title picture. That's not what I'm saying. But I want to see him on TV every week. Full stop. Yes, he could have a match or two on Dark, but he doesn't need that at all. He can be on Rampage or Dynamite every single week, having squash matches the same way that Hook has them, the same way Jade has them. Every single week, he could have himself a decent squash match to help build up his record and help keep him hot in front of the AEW fan base. Because keeping him hot in front of that fan base is exactly what everybody wants to see. His run in WWE left a lot of people feeling some type of way about the way he was done, and it was kind of heartbreaking, especially when his health issues came out as well too. So seeing him in AEW there's a feeling of hope, for lack of a better term, that maybe he'll get the run that he deserved, or like the run that people wanted to see with him, and they almost have to come through with it based on a lot of the things that have been said about that company and some of the situations they found themselves in, even just this year. And this is an opportunity that they need to take advantage of because they cannot drop the ball with him. I don't know how they get him to the title. I think it should take a little while, not like the whole year or something like that, but he could definitely be in the TNT title picture sooner rather than later. I don't know if the Face of the Revolution match is for a which title it's for. Actually, let me look. Let's see if they have that up somewhere, because that's a great question. So it's on March 6th, and so the winner faces Sammy Guevara for a future TNT championship match. And if Keith Lee comes out on top there, he needs to be the one to take that title off of Sammy, because they can have a good run there. Imagine him and Miro having a series of matches for the TNT title, or him and, I don't know, Dante Martin, him and Malachi Black. Like, there's a lot of people that he could have some great matches with that I hope he gets the opportunity to perform with, because we wanted to see more out of him in WWE. We did not get that. And AEW seems to be a place where he'll better thrive. He looks happy. He looks more esteemed with where he is, at least from his debut on Wednesday. So let's see if that translates to something big for him, because everybody wants to see that happen. And then before Keith Lee, actually, the first surprise of the evening was none other than Jay White, Switchblade Jay White. And wow, like I'm a big Jay White fan. And the way that came together really kind of was really like something else. I don't know if you saw Tony Khan's tweet, but he was basically saying that he made the mistake of using the term Forbidden Door in the wrong fashion. So instead of disappointing people, he went and got someone from the AKA for Forbidden Door. And if you know Jay White, he signed with New Japan. He competes and performs in the United States on the New Japan Strong show, and also on Impact. He was on Impact tonight. So he goes back and forth. But I mean, Jay White, IWGP World Champion, United States Champion, Intercontinental Champion, never Openweight Champion. I guess he's the leader of the Bullet Club, if they have an actual leader, which is perfect, because look at what's in AEW. You have Kenny Omega, you have the Bucks, you have Hangman, like you have Adam Cole. You have so much Bullet Club lineage there that at some point in time, this is going to have to come to a head. They had a face-off at Slammiversary where nothing came from that, they being Omega and Jay White. But there's still kind of details that are out there, like what are we supposed to expect from Jay White? How long is he going to be within AEW? I know he's going to be on Rampage this week, so how long is he going to be a part of the brand? As I said, he is in the United States because he performs with those two promotions that I mentioned in a moment ago. But how long is he going to be a part of AEW, and what does that really look like? So that's the reason to watch Rampage on Friday. As you guys know, I've said it plenty of times. I tend to not watch on Fridays, but that's something I'm going to keep an eye out for. And that's something I think we should keep an eye out for. Because the way it was introduced was that Adam Cole invited Jay White. The Bucks didn't know. The Bucks aren't like buddy-buddy with Jay White because he and Kenny Omega had issues. So that kind of brings me to another topic I wanted to bring up, but Adam Cole is building his own stable right under the Young Bucks' noses. He has Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and now Jay White. Those four, if they were to band together, would be huge. I think about it. White, Red Dragon, and Cole, all of them have an issue with someone in the Elite. And on top of that, you have to wonder, where does Adam Page fit into this conversation? If you remember, Adam Page was brought into the Bullet Club by Adam Cole, right? The Bucks kicked Adam Cole out of the Bullet Club when he went to go sign for WWE. They killed him, quote unquote. He hasn't forgotten that. And we know damn well that's going to come back up at some point in time. But I don't know how they get there. What I was thinking about earlier today was, does Cole turn on the Bucks and returning Kenny Omega, and then put Adam Page in a situation where he has to decide which group does he side with? Does he side with the guy who brought him into the Bullet Club, brought him into the Elite, or does he side with the Elite who he was with longer? Because remember, Adam Cole left shortly after that. That is an intriguing story. Does he side with the guy who is the number one contender facing him for the title as well too? Because they kind of started paving their way towards that match on Dynamite last night, where Cole confronted Paige at the end of the show. There's so much to really unpack. There's so many different ways that they could go. How does Paige feel about particularly returning to the Bucks and Omega if they gave him the boot? This is such a situation here. And again, I do not understand how people look at AEW and say that they don't tell any stories. That's a huge story right there. That's that's a massive story, and it's not the only one that they're telling on their show every single week. So what do you mean that they don't tell stories? But that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out, because I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. This may be the best story of 2022 already. And we're just kind of looking at it, just start off, and it's in February. I'm sure there will be other ones. I mean, this MJF CM Punk one is big as well too. But I'm looking forward to seeing where the Adam Page, Adam Cole, and the Elite story goes, because there's going to be some swerving in there left and right, and I'm here for it. I think it's going to be a great story to kind of unpack. Okay, so the last topic I wanted to talk about when it comes to AEW is their ability to live up to their surprises. So this was a show where everyone knew something was going to go down. Like I said earlier, it was probably one of the worst kept secrets that Keith Lee was coming in, but no one knew about Jay White. There's some speculation that popped up over the last few days, like Tuesday and mid-afternoon Wednesday, but no one knew it was going to be both. So this is another example of AEW continuing to live up to their promise of surprises, and that is big for me in professional wrestling. I wrote about that this morning for Daily DDT, where the ability to deliver on surprises is important. WWE has really kind of been failing at that lately. I mean, nothing about their show has been surprising per se. And there's a place for predictability in professional wrestling. There's a place where you can predict surprises as well too, as I mentioned with Keith Lee today, or with Keith Lee yesterday. there should be a space where you can predict the type of surprises that come out, but there should also be a unknown component to it. That's what made Royal Rumble so weak this year, where the only surprises they ended up with really was Shane McMahon and who am I forgetting? Shane McMahon and Bad Bunny. Like those are the two surprises that they had for the Royal Rumble this year, and everyone and it's funny because I've been looking at the metrics for Daily DT and something I put like as we led into Royal Rumble, we were seeing a big uptick on WWE content, and the immediate next day, after a lackluster pay-per-view content engagement dropped, at least for WWE. So that's telling something. People were excited. They got people excited, and then they dropped off a cliff. AEW is not doing that. They're showing an ability to live up to the idea of them delivering on surprises, and this is yet another moment. They delivered towards the end of last year, too, bringing in CM Punk and then having All Out where both Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, Minoru Suzuki, and Ruby Soho all debuted in one pay-per-view. So they're delivering on that, and that's big for me in professional wrestling. There are things, like I've always said, there are things about AEW that I don't like, that I'm not the biggest fan of, but they are doing a good job keeping me interested in their product every single week, and that is that's important right now because I don't have a lot of time. And if I can sit around and miss one of your shows, best believe I will. Like I said about Fridays, if I want to miss one of your shows, best believe I will. But AEW does an excellent job of keeping me interested, at least for Wednesdays, and keeping me in front of the television. So I wanted to touch upon that, like their ability to close out the deal on big surprises is definitely winning me over. The last thing I wanted to talk about from Wednesday, Hangman and Lance Archer. I mean, okay, I was one of those people that was like, let's hurry up and get through this feud and move on to something else. And I feel like everyone was kind of the same boat. Like, why is Lance? I understand why Lance is getting this shot. They want someone for Paige to still feel strong. I get that. But boy, oh boy, did this match over deliver, under promise and over deliver. Paige and Archer beat the shit out of each other from pillar to post. I mean, that spot on the steel steps, the blackout onto the steel stair, I'm like, his back is broke. He's dead. There's so many different moments in that match where you're just like, yo, this is sick. I've been wanting to write about this, and I do think there's an over reliance of blood on Dynamite, because it doesn't always add anything to the match for me, but I get why some people do believe it does, for them at least. So that's something I'm probably going to write about down the line. But this match had a whole bunch of blood in it, broken tables. Dan Lambert, it had some Dan Lambert in it as well too. But he basically broke the top rope, so Paige couldn't do the buckshot lariat. There was so much there that this was a good match. In no way did I believe Lance Archer was going to win at any point in time. But again, he showed out. Lance Archer's out. I remember he was Lance Hoyt. I always laugh about that when I see him. But he did an excellent job in his position on in this match, and I would like to see more of him if possible. I mean, but they have so much that they're trying to do with AEW, so I can see why he doesn't get too much television time outside of the sporadic title matches. But if you're going to watch a match this week, make sure you go back and watch the death match between Archer and Paige. So I want to turn it over to WWE and talk about that, and just a couple of them. We got 3 quick hitters for WWE from this past week. I want to start off talking about Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, actually, because I wrote about this week. And it was an interesting story because Lashley was talking to Ariel Helwani about his MMA and professional wrestling career. And he supposedly, Dan Lambert was his manager, and they had a conversation with Dana White about signing him to the UFC. And oddly enough, Dana said that Bobby Lashley needs to go prove himself, which was weird. Fight on like regional cards to prove himself before coming into the UFC, which, he didn't do that for CM Punk. He didn't really do that for Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar had one fight against who was it? Ho-Man Choi, and that was it. So it's really like why does Lashley need to be the guy to go and prove himself? So that's a whole another conversation within its own right that I am not in the mood to have right now, especially when it comes to the current state of things in MMA. But imagine if he didn't say that. Imagine if we lived in a different parallel universe in the multiverse, and Lashley was the one who got a shot at the fighting in the UFC. I mean, hell, Lesnar was fighting in the co-main event in his first fight. So what would that have done? That would have been interesting to see if he was able to, if he would have elevated himself in the same fashion as Brock did, because they have very similar backgrounds. I mean, when you look at the numbers, Lashley has fought almost twice as Lashley has won. No, well, he's 15-2. Lesnar is 5-3, so that's 17. He's fought 2 times more than Lashley did, or Lesnar did. Different level of competition, but still some solid victories there. I'm curious. Let's look at that. Let's see what can we glean from Bobby Lashley's professional MMA record. Who did he fight? Let's see. So the biggest name he probably beat was James Thompson. Probably James Thompson. Yeah. Wes Sims, maybe Wes Sims, Jason Guida, potentially. Those are probably the biggest names that he beat. But yeah, I mean, he had a legit run. He had a legit run before walking away from the sport. He could have easily been Bellator heavyweight champion, at least back then. I think Cole Conrad was a champion back then, maybe right after Cole Conrad. So yeah, Lashley could have definitely been Bellator champion back in those days. But I just wrote about that. What would history be like if their roles were switched and Lashley got the opportunity in the WWE? I wonder if we'd be having a different conversation, or if we're probably having a totally different conversation about their treatment of him long term. But that's neither here nor there because it didn't happen. I wanted to talk about Dolph Ziggler, my dude, Dolph Ziggler. You know, like I said, I've always been someone to hype him up and speak about his ability to perform. I do think Dolph Ziggler is one of the best professional wrestlers in the world today. If you took him and gave him the same type of career revitalization that Bryan Danielson is going through right now, I believe he would excel. He could easily put on exceptional matches with anyone, whether it be Kenny Omega, whether it be Jay White, whether it be Keith Lee, whether it be Bryan Danielson, whether it be anyone. Dolph Ziggler can deliver with those individuals in the ring, and I think that it would have been awesome to see him do some of that. But, however, this is WWE. They did something different with him, though. They sent him to NXT this past weekend where he had a face-off with Braun Breaker and ended up getting into a brawl with Tommaso Ciampa while also being in a segment with Escobar Santos, right? Or was it Santos Escobar? I always get that guy's name backwards. Let me see. It's Santos Escobar. Yep, Santos Escobar. Okay, I always get it backwards. Santos Escobar. Give me any one of those matches. Dolph Ziggler is one of the best performers on WWE roster. He's one of the best performers in the industry. Give me a match with him and anybody. I think he should have an extended run in NXT. Let him and Kushida work a best out of 7. Just let them work. I would love to watch that. I would love to watch him against Santos, him against Tommaso Ciampa, him against Pete Dunne. There's so many matches he could have. He could even probably get a good match out of Grayson Waller. And I mean, I think Grayson Waller sucks, but he can definitely perform. We saw his match with AJ was good. So there's value in moving people back to NXT or moving them there for the first time. I mean, Cesaro, he's not doing anything on the main roster. He should come back and get a little bit of a run. They could have did that with Mustafa Ali, but they elected not to. He was actually never in NXT. They could have done that with Ricochet right now, but he's up there just kind of floundering as well too. Sheamus. There's so many guys who aren't doing anything on the main roster who could have been slotted in NXT just to have a brief little quick run. Look what going back did for Finn Balor. It gave him such a boost that when he came back to the main roster, people were hoping to see more of that version of Finn rather than the one that we got. So seeing Dolph Ziggler in NXT was probably the most interesting thing he's done in so long. I hate the Dirty Dogs, and him and that team with Bobby Roode. In fact, sending him back to NXT would also help free up Bobby Roode for a singles run, which I think is long overdue. So there's benefits all around for that slight shift that they would have to make that they could make. And I hope that is something that is being brought up and put into consideration, because Dolph is yet another name of a talented WWE roster member not being leveraged correctly. So yes, send Dolph back to NXT. Then the last one for WWE is talking about Sasha Banks, because I wrote a piece on Sunday that went out about her star power, and it blew up. Mainly because she's popular. She has a huge following. But we also had a piece about the value of the 4 horsewomen individually and who else could be elevated to that status. And a lot of people were upset about that, because it seems like obviously I know Bayley and Sasha Banks aren't booked the same way Charlotte and Becky are. But as a unit, those 4 women dominate WWE wrestling in many ways. You can see them as the 4 pillars of women's professional wrestling across the board. And I get that Sasha's booking is probably the weakest of the 4, her or Bayley, depending on what time period we're looking at. But her star power is going to outgrow the WWE. It's going to happen quickly. And I think they know it. I think they see it. And I think that there's nothing that they can do about it. Being in The Mandalorian, I don't know if she's going to be in this next season. I heard that she wasn't, but we'll see. Being in The Mandalorian, she was on Wild 'N Out. She was on Hot Ones. She was on, there's another show that she was on too as well when I wrote about this. But she's a star. She's every bit of a star. And the thing is, they're getting close to the same thing with Bianca Belair. She did a shoot with Fenty, is Rihanna's makeup line. She did a shoot with them. And I mean, all you need to do is get Rihanna's fan group behind Bianca Belair, and she could be pushed to doing anything. So they need to be careful with that, because they can mess around and lose Bianca as well too in a matter of time, and there will be nothing that they can do to stop it. But Sasha Banks is a big star, and I hope the best for her. I hope she does get to a place. I mean, she's 30, she's still young, where she just turned 32, where she decides, I want to go do other stuff, and y'all can try to keep me locked down, but you can't. And she goes about doing her thing. She could be just as big as a Rock and John Cena. I said what I said. She could be just as big as them. Let me see. What other else I want to talk about? Swerve. Where would he end up signing? He was one of the names that came up in news this week, because some people were wondering if he was going to be the individual to face Isaiah. Now, Swerve's non-compete clause ends on the 18th of this month. So there is still a little bit of time, a little more than a week between then. But Swerve is someone that fans should like. I didn't like him at first. When I first saw him in MLW, it just didn't like wet my palate any, but he grew on me. His NXT run grew on me. And the rest of his MLW run grew on me as well. His World Championship run. Excuse me, not his NXT Championship run was subpar at best, because he didn't get the opportunity to really defend the title. He just won it. He was drafted to main roster, and that was kind of that before losing it to Carmelo Hayes. So, yeah, Swerve is that dude to me, and I think that professional wrestling needs people like him. So he is going to be in Terminus coming up, and there's a piece that came out, or news that came out, that multiple organizations are attempting to court him and bring him in. It seems like most people are pushing for AEW to sign him. I wonder if that happens. I would like it to, because he could go again. He's another name that could step in there and be ready immediately. So they do need that group. But if they do that and they do not move on these individuals, people are going to be looking at them funny. So he could definitely go there. He could stay. He can go to New Japan. He can go to Impact. He can do whatever he wants. He can go back to MLW. But Swerve is a talented individual, and I hope to see him kind of get what he deserves to as well. And then my last piece was about another free agent, Killer Kross, Karrion Kross, going back to MLW. He'll be there on the 26th. I'm going to MLW show on the 13th of May, which should be a good time. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting time in professional wrestling. I am glad to be getting an opportunity to cover it. And if you do want to see me cover it, as you usually do, you can always catch this show every week here at MMA Ratings on YouTube and across other channels. You can check me out at rgarcia_sports. Hit up all of our flagship at MMARatingsNet.com. And as always, I thank you for taking the time to check us out and listen to this content. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can use all the support that we get. But again, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic evening. Stay safe and enjoy your weekend. Adios.